This is Edmunds Live with your highlights of the 2013 LA Auto Show. And what better place to start than the car that we're standing next to, and boy is it gorgeous, the Jaguar F-Type. And this is the new ARM model, 550 horsepower V8, 55 more than the V8S, which we definitely did not think was slow. What do you think of the new F-Type, Ed?
I think they did a great job of taking that shape that it was already a good-looking car in the convertible, making a coupe, making it look a little bit different, and just giving it a real nice, smooth, clean lines that it is probably one of the best-looking cars on the floor.
I think there's a temptation. You look around a lot of the car designs today; they're almost over-designed. There's just too much going on. This has got a real kind of simple elegance and muscularity, and personally, I much prefer it to the Roadster.
And not surprisingly, it's getting a lot of attention. Let's do our sort of social media thing. Claire can't be with us today, so you can call me Claire, I guess, if you want. Our top comment about the F-Type was directed at you, Alistair. You got to meet Miranda Kerr, you lucky bastard.
Yeah, that's true. We actually tried to interview her on camera, but apparently contractually she could not talk to us. She just had to stand there and look pretty, but she did a fine job of that. And
it was a big to do about this.
It was, to be honest. Over the years you get so many of these launch events that you do tend to get a little bit cynical. But this was a good show. It's like even Simon Cowell turned up.
Oh, how exciting! Now, this is certainly a favorite of the show, but I would argue that perhaps a Subaru WRX will be the one that everyone's talking about. Aaron, what do we think of the WRX?
Styling's pretty conservative, and it's honestly, I find it kind of ugly, but I have a lot of hope for how it's going to drive.
Nice, because there was some thought that it would be more of a unique vehicle compared to the Impreza, but
they don't have a big name designer. It's just not in the cards.
Yeah, and there's lots of comments on Facebook about the styling. A lot of people think it's ugly. I don't know why they're surprised. One guy,
it's a WRX. That's what it does, right?
Yeah,
it's a Subaru too. They're not known for their gorgeous designs. Glidden Nieves said, "This is a catastrophe," as expected. So much for that concept, which did look fantastic in New York.
Yeah, but I think any hope of the concept being rolled into production was ambitious. A pipe dream, I would say.
And quite fittingly, they actually did have a legacy concept here that I'm sure the next legacy will look vaguely similar to.
But I think that's part of the appeal of the WRX, isn't it? That it's a kind of anti-hero. Mm-hmm. You buy it as a statement as a driving car, and the fact that it's a bit ugly is actually for me at the core of that appeal.
And there's lots of consternation about the fact that it has a CVT. Although CVT or automatic, if you're getting the automatic in a WRX, yeah.
Well, it's good. It helps keep it alive. If it doesn't have that, then it's harder to justify its existence for the minority of households where people won't deal with a clutch pedal.
Now let's go on to the Mini Cooper, which would be predictable to go to Alistair, but let's go to Aaron. What did we think? What do we think of the Mini Cooper?
It's bigger, and the hood's a lot taller, and the windshield is more reclined, and so I don't know if it's going to be as easy to see out of, but the new engines look really good on paper, really strong.
Turbocharged 3-cylinder, which is definitely unique for North America.
Yeah, and a lot more power than they ever got out of the 4-cylinder.
I've actually driven that engine in the i8 prototype. Sounds great. Those little 3-cylinders sound really good.
Yeah. But you generally weren't that impressed with the new BMW Mini?
No, I was kind of interested. I didn't think it's British. I always think it's German. But it's just got, for me, every generation on from the BMW original of 2001's just got that bit fatter, that bit more styled, and it just it needs to go to Pilates for me.
Yeah, it looks a little awkward in this latest generation.
It does. It's just, I think it's 4 inches longer, 2 inches wider, but it looks bigger than that. It's all sort of set up on its haunches, and there's just a lot going on. And I love the 2001 car, and it's just not for me.
Now, perhaps we'll look back at this show and think that the most significant car was, in fact, a truck, the Chevy Colorado.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Colorado is a significant launch for GM and for the segment also. When was the last time we saw any movement in the mid-size pickup truck segment?
Decade.
It's been a long time. And here's Colorado, Chevy showing up with 3 truck configurations, 2 powertrains at launch, and then a turbo diesel coming a year later. This is a big deal.
And they almost have the segment to themselves. I mean, they have the Tacoma and the Frontier, but they're very old.
There's a new Tacoma coming in a couple of years, but it's far enough away that the Colorado has the edge for sure.
Do you think this could signal an increase of the mid-size truck, rebirth almost?
I'm not sure if it's going to, make the segment really that much bigger, but it's certainly, I mean, anytime you get a little more competition, Toyota is now forced to kind of respond to that. But Toyota's had that segment for so long that Colorado's going to have to be really good to make a dent in it. And it looks like a nice package, but I don't think Toyota's going to roll over that easily. So it's going to be kind of a tough row. I mean, that's going to be a hard thing to break into for Colorado.
Very loyal buyers.
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean, you
Tacoma
got
side.
people
Yeah.
driven Tacomas now for 5, 6, 8 years, so it's not going to be easy for Chevy.
Okay, another big car was in fact a luxury compact SUV, the Porsche Macan, and that seems to be the new ceiling for that segment. A lot of power, 340 horsepower V6, 400 horsepower twin turbo V6.
Yeah, Porsche's like creating their own category with this performance compact SUV. So I mean, and it looked good. I mean, it sort of has less of the awkward lines of the Cayenne being so big and kind of funny. So I think it's going to do really well. And the fact, 400 horsepower turbocharged engine, it's going to make a whole different driving experience.
Similar to the Mercedes GLA, it almost looks more like a hatchback, but it looks a lot better. Though those Porsche styling cues definitely work better on a smaller scale. Let's to our lightning round. And what was your favorite car of the show, Alistair?
I'm going to go for the Honda FC EV. The rest of the automotive world has decided that hydrogen cars are kind of like way out there, and it's probably never going to happen. Honda is utterly convinced that they should pour billions of dollars into developing new hydrogen fuel cell cars, and it looks great. It's a kind of a replacement for the FCX Clarity, but they're making a bold statement. There's going to be a production version in 2015, not production version in 2015. Yeah, I like it.
I actually designed Vision GT months ago at this first auto show. 500 horsepower. What's not to like there, but they added sort of the wide body kit to it, but it doesn't look ridiculous. They actually molded it into the shape of a GTI it almost looks like it could be done sometimes. So I think they did a good job of making the ultimate GTI look, kind of look right instead of just looking ridiculous.
And they're calling it GTI, not R or.
No, they did. I mean, they just called it the Vision GTI. So I guess this is where they see it, could go in the future.
But as Jay might ask, can you turn off the traction control on
that?
Light
Yeah, they would not answer that.
It's a very important question for that car. Yeah.
Jay, what was your favorite car of the show?
I think just in terms of sheer auto show outlandishness, there's nothing that tops that AMG Vision Gran Turismo. I mean, look at the thing. It looks like it landed here from Neptune. It's so extreme in every way. It's completely ridiculous. I love it.
Aaron?
Yeah, I have to agree with Jay, because I think that's a car that it's worth coming here just to see that car.
And my favorite, because I'm an unapologetic Anglophile, is the F-Type Coupe. So that's it for Edmunds Live and our coverage from the 2013 LA Auto Show. So see you in a couple of weeks, because next week's Thanksgiving, and do yourself a favor, spend a time with your family.